What if the family that raised you turned their backs the moment you showed them your true heart? What if the secret you carried for years shattered every bond you thought was unbreakable? What if the son they once called their deepest disgrace became the only person standing between them and total ruin? Kyson stared at the cracked mirror in the tiny bathroom of his Ohio childhood home, heart hammering so loud he could barely hear his own breathing. 16 years old, lanky frame still growing into itself, dark hair falling into green eyes that had always held too many questions. Tonight those questions had answers, and the answers terrified him. Downstairs his parents argued about the usual things: bills, the farm, why his older brother Michael got straight A's while Kyson barely passed gym. But none of that mattered anymore. The letter in his pocket, the one he had written and rewritten for months, burned against his chest. He had planned to tell them after dinner, when the house felt safe and the television hummed low. Instead, the truth spilled out when his mother found the folded note from Gabriel, the boy from the next county whose smile had made Kyson's world tilt sideways the first time they spoke at the 4-H fair. "Mom, Dad, I'm gay." The words hung in the air like smoke after a gunshot. His father's face drained of color. His mother's hands flew to her mouth as if he'd cursed God himself. "You're what?" his father roared, chair scraping back so hard it toppled. "In this house, under my roof? We didn't raise no abomination." The word landed like a slap. Kyson flinched, but didn't cry. "Not yet." His mother whispered, "How could you do this to us? What will the church say? What will people think?" Michael just stared, older brother suddenly a stranger. That night the front door slammed behind him with everything he owned stuffed into a single duffel. No goodbye hug, no last meal, just the cold Ohio wind and the long gravel driveway stretching into darkness. At the bus station 2 towns over, he counted the $43 in his pocket and bought a ticket to Chicago because it was the farthest the money would take him. Sitting on the hard plastic seat, watching cornfields blur past, Kyson felt the first crack in the armor he would spend years building. He was free, but freedom tasted like ash. The city swallowed him whole. Foster homes rotated like bad dreams, some kind, some indifferent, one outright cruel. He finished high school at night, while working days at a greasy diner, saving every tip. College was a distant dream until a guidance counselor handed him a scholarship application for the University of Illinois. Kyson filled it out with shaking hands, writing first-generation student, overcoming adversity, without mentioning the real adversity, the night his father had called him a disgrace loud enough for the whole block to hear. By 20 he stood on Michigan Avenue, wind whipping his cheap coat, staring up at skyscrapers that promised possibility. That was the day he met Gabriel. Gabriel worked the counter at the corner cafe, blonde hair catching the light, easy laugh that made customers linger. When Kyson spilled his coffee in nervous haste, Gabriel didn't roll his eyes. He just grinned, wiped the counter, and said, "Rough day?" "Mine started with a burned batch of muffins. Want a free refill?" They talked for an hour after closing. Gabriel listened without pity when Kyson finally admitted why he had no family photos, no holiday plans. "My folks kicked me out at 16, Kyson said quietly. Gabriel's hand covered his across the table. "Mine didn't kick me out, but they sure made it clear I wasn't welcome at Thanksgiving anymore. Took me years to stop apologizing for existing." For the first time, Kyson felt seen, not pitted. Months turned into years. They shared a tiny studio apartment above a bakery, the smell of fresh bread waking them every morning. Gabriel studied social work. Kyson clawed his way into marketing night classes. Late nights they lay awake trading stories. The small-town judgment Gabriel escaped in Iowa, the Ohio farm silence Kyson still heard in his nightmares. Love grew quietly, steadily, without grand gestures, just the certainty that neither had to face the world alone. Yet the past never stayed buried. One Christmas Eve, Kyson received a letter forwarded from his old address. His mother's handwriting on the envelope made his stomach drop. Inside, a single line, "We miss you, son. Maybe it's time." No apology, no mention of the word gay. Just that vague maybe. He tore it up before Gabriel could see. Some doors, he told himself, were better left closed. The years in Chicago hardened Kyson in ways he never expected. He landed an entry-level job at a downtown ad agency, wearing second-hand suits that didn't quite fit, and smiling through meetings where colleagues joked about family values, without knowing how those words once broke him. Gabriel worked at a youth center helping kids who reminded Kyson too much of his 16-year-old self, scared, alone, convinced love was a sin. Every night, they came home exhausted but whole, cooking simple meals and laughing about the day's small victories. Kyson's first big break came when he pitched a campaign for a local LGBTQ center that no one else wanted. The client loved it. Suddenly, he was the guy who got it, the one who could speak to markets others ignored. Promotions followed. He paid off student loans, bought Gabriel a decent watch for their 3rd anniversary, and started dreaming bigger. But success carried its own ghosts. At 30, he still woke some nights sweating, hearing his father's voice, "You'll never amount to anything." Gabriel would pull him close, whisper, "You're already more than they ever dreamed," and the panic would ease. They moved to a 1-bedroom in a quieter neighborhood. Gabriel finished his degree and took a full-time role counseling at-risk teens. Their friends became the family they chose. Marcus, the graphic designer who threw legendary potlucks. Lena, the lawyer who fought for every equality bill that crossed her desk. Holidays were loud and chaotic and perfect. No one asked why Kyson never went home. Then the call came. His sister Emily's voice on the line after 12 years of silence. "Dad's sick, Kyson. Real sick. Doctors say the farm's underwater and the medical bills were losing everything. Mom keeps talking about you. Says you always were the smart one." Kyson gripped the phone until his knuckles whitened. Gabriel watched from the couch, concern etched across his face. I haven't been part of that family since I was 16, Kyson said evenly. "You all made sure of that." She cried then, the kind of broken sound that used to gut him. "We were wrong. We didn't understand. Please just think about it." He hung up without promising anything and spent the rest of the night staring at the ceiling while Gabriel rubbed slow circles on his back. "You don't owe them a damn thing," Gabriel murmured. "But if you decide to go, I'll be right beside you." Kyson wanted to believe that was enough. The next weeks blurred. Work deadlines piled up, but his mind kept drifting to Ohio, the red barn, the smell of hay, the way his mother used to hum hymns while baking. He pulled old photos from a shoebox he thought he'd burned years ago. In one, 16-year-old Kyson grinned beside his father on the tractor before everything shattered. Gabriel found him crying over it one night and didn't say a word, just held him until the storm passed. Kyson started therapy for the first time. The counselor, a calm woman with silver streaks in her hair, asked the question that cracked him open. What would forgiving them cost you? And what would it cost you not to? He left every session raw but clearer. Gabriel never pushed, only listened and loved. Their relationship deepened in the quiet spaces between fear and decision. One weekend they drove to the lake, rented a canoe, and floated under a sky so blue it hurt. Gabriel said softly, "Whatever you choose, we're building our own legacy. You and me." Kyson kissed him then, tasting salt and hope, and for a moment the past felt smaller than the future stretching ahead. Success in New York came fast once Kyson took the leap. The agency headhunted him after a viral campaign. He ran for a national nonprofit. At 32, he stepped off the plane at JFK with Gabriel beside him, both carrying more dreams than luggage. Their new apartment in Brooklyn had actual windows and a view of the Manhattan skyline that still took Kyson's breath away every sunrise. Gabriel found work at a community center in Bed-Stuy, helping young men navigate the same identity storms Kyson had survived. They built routines that felt like home. Saturday farmers market runs, Sunday brunches with new friends who became chosen family. Kyson rose quickly, creative director by 34, corner office, team that respected him. Clients sought him out for campaigns that centered queer voices without tokenizing them. Money followed, enough that he quietly paid off Gabriel's remaining loans and started a college fund for the teens at Gabriel's center. But money couldn't silence the occasional late-night text from Emily. "Dad's in hospice now. Mom won't stop crying. The bank is foreclosing next month." Kyson read each one, then deleted it. Gabriel would find the phone in his hand and gently take it away. "You're allowed to protect your peace," he reminded him. Still, the guilt gnawed. Kyson threw himself into work, landing a major account that doubled his salary. He surprised Gabriel with tickets to Paris for their 10th anniversary, their first real vacation. Under the Eiffel Tower, champagne in hand, Gabriel proposed with a simple silver band. "Marry me, Kyson. Let's make official what we've already built." The yes came without hesitation, tears mixing with laughter under city lights. Back in New York, life accelerated. Wedding planning was small and intentional. City Hall ceremony followed by rooftop reception with Marcus, Lena, and the kids from Gabriel's center. Kyson wore a navy suit that made his green eyes pop. Gabriel looked radiant in charcoal. During vows, Kyson spoke of choosing family every day, voice steady despite the lump in his throat. No one from Ohio was invited. The absence felt like both victory and wound. Then the letter arrived, not a text this time, but certified mail. His mother's handwriting again, thicker envelope. Inside, medical reports, foreclosure notices, and a handwritten page. "We were wrong about so many things. Your father asks for you every day. If there's any way, we need help. Not just money. You." Kyson sat on the fire escape reading it until the sun set. Gabriel joined him, shoulder to shoulder, silent support stronger than words. "I think I have to go back," Kyson finally said. "Not for them. For me. To close the door, or maybe open a different one." Gabriel squeezed his hand. "Then we go together. No more facing storms alone." The flight to Ohio felt shorter than the 12 years that had passed. Kyson rented a car at the small airport, Gabriel in the passenger seat navigating back roads that hadn't changed. The farmhouse looked smaller, paint peeling, fields overgrown. His mother stood on the porch, older, frilier, eyes widening when she saw both men. "Kyson, you came." Her voice cracked. Inside, his father lay in a hospital bed rented for the living room, tubes and machines humming. Michael and Emily hovered awkwardly. The first hours were stilted. No one said gay or sorry outright. They talked around it: weather, the crops, hospital bills that totaled more than the farm was worth. Gabriel stayed close, hand occasionally brushing Kyson's for grounding. When his father rasped, "Son, I was wrong," the room went still. Kyson felt the old shame rise, but also something new, pity mixed with resolve. He didn't cry. Instead, he asked questions, exact figures, treatment options, what they had tried. Numbers didn't lie. The family needed $200,000 to save the farm and cover care. That night in the motel, Gabriel held him while anger and grief warred. "They only reached out when they needed money," Kyson whispered. "Not when I was sleeping in shelters. Not when I thought I'd never be loved." Gabriel kissed his temple. "True. But you came anyway. That's who you are now. The man who doesn't let past pain dictate present choices." Meetings with lawyers and bankers filled the days. Kyson wired funds anonymously at first, then openly when his mother broke down thanking him. Emily apologized in the barn one afternoon, tears genuine. "We let fear win. I should have stood up for you." Michael admitted the same over coffee, voice thick. Kyson listened but offered no easy forgiveness. "I'm not here to erase what happened," he told them. "I'm here because I refuse to become the bitter man you tried to make me." Gabriel's presence changed everything. He spoke quietly with the teens in town who reminded him of younger Kyson, planted seeds of acceptance. One evening, the whole family sat on the porch watching fireflies. His father, weaker but clear-eyed, said, "Gabriel seems good for you. I wish I'd seen that sooner." The words weren't perfect, but they were a bridge. Kyson didn't cross fully yet. Instead, he set boundaries: monthly calls, no demands, therapy for everyone involved. Back in New York weeks later, Kyson stood on their rooftop again, Gabriel's arms around him. The city lights glittered like the future they had built together. "I didn't save them," Kyson said softly. "I saved the part of me they tried to kill." Gabriel smiled against his neck. "And we kept building anyway." Months after the Ohio trip, life settled into a new rhythm. Kyson expanded his agency to include a foundation for LGBTQ youth in rural America, scholarships, mentorship, safe houses. Gabriel ran workshops training counselors on supporting families in crisis. Their marriage felt stronger, forged in fire. Yet the past still sent ripples. His mother called on Sundays now, careful questions about their life, tentative pride in Kyson's success. His father passed peacefully 6 months later. The funeral was small, Kyson and Gabriel attending quietly in the back row. No speeches, just a single white rose left on the casket. Emily visited New York once, staying in their guest room. She met their friends, saw the life they had created, and cried in the kitchen one night. I was so blind. You two, you're what family should look like. Kyson hugged her then, not full forgiveness, but a beginning. We all get second chances if we earn them. Michael sent occasional texts, farm updates, awkward emojis. Progress, slow and real. Internally, Kyson still wrestled. Therapy sessions uncovered layers. The boy who believed love made him broken. The man who now proved it made him whole. Gabriel never wavered, celebrating every milestone. Their 5th wedding anniversary in a quiet cabin upstate, adopting a rescue dog they named Hope. The dog became a symbol, bounding between them with unconditional joy. One crisp autumn day, Kyson received a letter from a young man in Ohio who had seen the Foundation's work online. Your story gave me courage to come out to my family. They didn't react perfectly, but they're trying. Thank you. Kyson read it aloud to Gabriel over breakfast, tears in both their eyes. The circle was closing. What started as shame had become legacy, yet doubt lingered in quiet moments. Did I give them too much? He asked Gabriel one night. Gabriel answered simply, you gave them what you could without losing yourself. That's the real win. Their love had grown into something steady and profound, not the fireworks of new romance, but the deep roots of chosen forever. Kyson realized the greatest gift wasn't the money or the farm saved. It was the man he had become, unafraid and unashamed. 5 years after that first desperate call, Kyson stood on the same Ohio porch, this time with Gabriel and their dog Hope at his side. The farm looked different, new paint, solar panels funded by his foundation, fields thriving under Michael's careful management. His mother hugged them both without hesitation. Emily's kids ran around the yard, calling Uncle Kyson and Uncle Gabe, as if it had always been this way. They stayed a week, helping with harvest, sharing stories around the dinner table that once felt hostile. Conversations still held careful edges, but laughter filled the gaps. His mother finally said the words he'd waited decades to hear. I was wrong to let fear steal my son. I'm proud of the man you've become, both of you. Kyson accepted it without fanfare, the healing less dramatic than movies, but more lasting. Back in New York, life continued its quiet triumph. Kyson mentored the next generation of queer executives. Gabriel opened a satellite center in Ohio to support rural families. Their home echoed with friends, plans, and the steady heartbeat of 2 men who had chosen each other against every odd. On their 10th wedding anniversary, they returned to the Brooklyn rooftop where it all began. Gabriel raised a glass to the boy who left home broken and the man who built something unbreakable. Kyson clinked his glass, green eyes clear and free. To us, and to every kid who needs to know they can survive the shame and find their own family. The city lights stretched endlessly, mirroring the possibilities they had claimed. What began as rejection had become redemption, not because the past changed, but because they refused to let it define them. Kyson finally understood, love wasn't about erasing scars. It was about wearing them with pride and walking forward hand in hand. In reflecting on Kyson's journey from being branded family shame at 16 to standing as the steady anchor his loved ones could rely on, one truth stands out. Blood ties don't guarantee acceptance, but the family we choose and the truth we live can heal what was broken. The real lesson here is that protecting your peace isn't selfish, it's necessary. Forgiveness is an ode, but offering it on your own terms can free you more than it frees them. My advice: live your authentic life unapologetically. Surround yourself with people who celebrate you, and remember that your worth was never up for negotiation. Build the legacy you wish you'd inherited, one of courage, love, and quiet strength.